TikTok and beyond, and welcome to Roll for Sandwich, the series where I let fate decide my lunch. Let's go. Today's episode of Roll for Sandwich is
I
sponsored
wouldn't
by
even make that sandwich for someone I hate. I don't think there's a person on this
the Marvel
planet
Avengers Multiverse of
that
Stickers
deserves
book.
that.
It contains over 1,000 stickers featuring art from many different eras of Marvel comics. The back page
diabolical.
is a copy of the art of each sticker, so that once you peel the stickers and stick them, you still have the art in the
Fred
book.
would eat
This
that.
book would make a great gift
So would
for the Marvel
Hella Planet,
lover in your life. You can find it on Thunderbay's website using the link in my bio, or at your local Costco at a discounted price. All right, and without any further ado, let's get started with our sandwich. Let's roll for bread. 2 freezer ends. Today my freezer ends are these 2 slices of Jewish rye bread. I'm not quite sure why this one is so thin, but that's okay. Next up, let's roll for main. 2 imitation crab. This imitation crab actually contains a small amount of crab meat, but is mostly Alaskan pollock. Though it doesn't compare to real crab, I don't mind this stuff in its own right. It's got a very mild flavor and a nice texture.
I don't know
Next up, let's roll for cheese. 3 Munster. I feel like there are definitely some cheeses that would clash with this, but Munster isn't one of them. It's mellow enough to just add a little bit of support without asserting itself too much.
It's cooking? I
Next
don't know
up,
if I'd
let's roll
say
for
that.
roughage. 8 marinated mushrooms and 10 avocado. Wow, avocado is a pretty fortunate roll. Avocado and imitation crab are 2 of the main ingredients in a California roll. My avocado could stand to be just a bit more ripe, but we'll make it work. These Italian marinated mushrooms are pretty tasty. They've got a nice tangy vinegary flavor without being as intense as something like pickles. I've chopped them up a little bit to make sure they don't roll off the sandwich, and they should be a nice addition. We needed a little acid to cut through all the creaminess. Next up, let's hit it with a little wild magic. 13 dry roasted edamame.
Edamame beans.
Well, so much for things not rolling off the sandwich.
Wait,
These
what?
dry roasted soybeans are a nice salty snack, but they will prove difficult to keep on our sandwich.
I don't know about this one.
Especially in its current configuration.
What?
I do find it kind of satisfying
would that
that
end
we
up being
rolled some
good?
of the ingredients of a California roll and then proceeded to roll edamame. And last but not least, we have the D20 sauce roll. Here we go. 9 jalapeno glaze. This is essentially a sweet jalapeno jelly. The package recommends using it as a glaze for meats or poured over cream cheese and used as a dip. We will just be spreading it on our sandwich.
That actually looks kind of good.
Quite viscous.
What's it called again? Big Wicks.
Essentially a sweet jalapeno jelly. The package recommends using it as a
good.
glaze for meats.
Honestly, looks really good, but
the spice will be nice with our current sandwich configuration, though I'm hoping it doesn't end up being overly sweet. I've had some bad experiences with sweet imitation crab in the past. Let's get our sandwich closed up here. Get our toothpicks in to hold it together. And let's see, how's the saying go? Measure once, cut twice. There we go. And let's take a look at that cross section. It is a sandwich. Well, this one seems like it's going to be pretty all right, but you know, pretty much anything would look good after Monday. This one is a bit sticky though. Let's go ahead and give it a taste. Yeah, you know, this one's all right. I definitely think I would have picked a different sauce if given the chance. And structurally, this one's kind of all over the place. The flavors
like
all
3.
pretty much mesh well, but it's a little boring and is falling apart way too much. They can't all be knock your socks off sandwiches, and I'm glad they're not all eldritch monstrosities. I think I'm going to give this one a 6.7, and I'm going to call it the Crumbly Crab. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you again on Friday.
No, that's crazy talk. That is a crazy talk rating. Dude, 7 is supposed to be, like, good. Is that everyone else's rating scale? I feel like 7 is where everyone goes like, yeah, that's good. It's like a 7. That's like a good rating. 6.7 is almost good. That was not almost good.
Good afternoon, D&D, TikTok, and beyond, and welcome to Roll for Sandwich,
here
the
right
series
now.
where I let fate decide my lunch. Let's go. Today I'm going to be using these sparkly purple dice that were sent in by a viewer. Thanks. Let's get things started with our roll for bread. 4 onion rye. This bread is basically a mashup between an onion roll and light rye bread, and that combination is pretty dang tasty. Next up, let's roll for main.
That's good.
10 salami. Ah, salami, the old childhood favorite. I still enjoy it just as much, if not more, today.
Salami's good.
Not a bad roll.
Salami's
Next
good.
up, let's roll for cheese. 6 cheddar with Irish porter. This cheddar is infused with a dark beer called a porter. Porters are actually one of my favorite types of beer and are on the bitter side, usually featuring notes of chocolate, coffee, and malt. This cheese didn't really want to slice well using my cheese slicer or my Ostoval. It's just kind of crumbly, so I decided to lead into it. Still gonna taste good though. All right, let's roll for some roughage.
It looks good, but I don't know how to try
9 green onion and 10 avocado. All right, I've harvested some green onion from my
it.
windowsill
But I
where
don't know if I
I've
want
been
to buy
growing
it.
them. I think onion's going to be a really nice flavor with the porter, but it is nice that it's green onion, so it's not going to be super oniony, so it should be good without taking over. And we've got avocado for the second day in a row. Not that I mind. I think fresh avocado is always a nice choice on a sandwich. Adding a little bit of extra fat and savoriness.
I'm not a big
the
avocado
should
guy.
be
Like,
a nice
avocado's
addition,
fine. I'm
and
just
perhaps
not
will
like,
mellow out some of those stronger flavors in the
you know,
cheese.
like I'm not crazy, but like a lot of people are.
Next up, let's hit it with a little wild magic. 13, we've already rolled it, so let's pull out the other sheet. And 13 is dry roasted edamame.
And the mommy bean.
Huh, well now that's
Not
2
again.
ingredients that we've gotten twice in a row on this sandwich. A lot of you wondered on Wednesday why I didn't cut the edamame. These are dry roasted and they pretty much would just shatter. All right, and last but not least is the D20 sauce roll. Here we go. 19, roll again with advantage. All right, that means we roll 2 and we take the better result. We've got 9 jalapeno glaze and 16 Tubby's Italian. Gotta go with the Tubby's. Tubby's is
What
a
is that?
submarine sandwich chain from Southeast Michigan and home to one of my favorite sandwiches of all time. I'm a huge fan of their famous dressing. It's a creamy vinaigrette that is somewhere between an Italian and a Greek dressing, and I think it should go just fine here. All right, let's go ahead and get our sandwich carefully closed up here. Get our toothpicks in to hold it together, and let's go ahead and get it cut in half. And let's take a look at that cross section. Not bad. If it weren't for advantage on sauce there, we almost had 3 repeat ingredients on this sandwich. It's crazy how that can happen sometimes. All right, let's give this one a taste.
I'm gonna wait to see what he says before I say anything.
Interesting. Yeah, that's pretty good. Well, first off, the salami and the dressing pair fantastically. The avocado doesn't add much flavor, just adds a richness. And that cheese really adds some interesting notes. And I'm actually kind of digging the edamame on this one, adding
So
some little
like an
pockets of crunch.
8.8?
It's not the easiest sandwich to keep together, but it's pretty darn tasty. And the bread strikes a nice balance between being hearty enough to support everything and being a little bit soft. All right, last bite down the hatch. Given the way this week started out, I am happy to report that this one is going to get a 9.2 from me today. And I'm going to call it
Close?
the Tubby Toucan. Thanks for hanging out with me this week, everybody. Hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you on
Close,
Monday.
I guess,
Good
but oh man, I don't know.
Good
I
afternoon.
don't know how we're still so off.
D&D, TikTok, and beyond, and welcome to Roll for Sandwich, the series where I let fate decide my lunch. Let's go. Today I'll be using the Adventure Zone Hunger Dice that were sent to me by the
Maybe
McElroy
it was
brothers.
partly influenced because
Thanks,
like the rest of the week was terrible.
Let's get started with our roll
Maybe.
for bread. 4, onion rye. This bread is like the 1986 film The Fly, except instead of Jeff Goldblum, it's rye bread, and instead of a fly, it's an onion roll. All right, next up, let's roll for Maine. 8, olive loaf. Olive loaf is basically a bologna or mortadella with olives inside of it. If you like bologna and you like olives, you probably like olive loaf. Next up, let's roll for cheese.
Okay, funny story. My grandpa used to. Okay, all right, that's not true. Let me tell the actual story. My grandparents, like I said to you, would like go to the store, you know, like every like once a month or like ever on a Saturday or whatever, and buy a bunch of stuff. Your BJ's, Costco's, you know, whatever. And one of the things they'd always get is olive loaf. And I'd always ask, why the f are we getting olive loaf? And they were like, well, grandfather likes it, but he was like Depression era, like World War II vet. He never complain. I've never saw the man complain in my entire life. Never saw it once. Never a single time did I ever see him complain. My entire life. Not once. About anything. Period. And she'd always buy it and be like, oh, he likes it. And it always would be the last thing in the fridge. It would always be the last thing in the fridge. It would be the last thing that got eaten. Every time. And I was slightly convinced that he didn't actually like it. He never complained. And so she must have given it to him sometime, and he ate it. And she was like, oh, you must have liked it. I'll get that more often. And so started to buy it more often because he ate it. And because nobody else liked it, it was always the last thing in the house. So no one would touch it, but he would eat it because he was the only one. And I'm still convinced to this day that the reason why she would always buy it, or the reason why he always kept eating it, is because he would never complain about anything, and she would buy it because she thought he liked it, but he actually hated it. Low key.
5. Buffalo wing cheddar. This is a creamy cheddar.
When the fridge was full, it was never the first thing he reached for. He would go for literally anything else. It was always last.
Cheese that includes cayenne pepper, jalapenos, and habaneros. And it's definitely a bit spicier than the name might imply. It's interesting that all 3 of our ingredients so far kind of have an extra bonus vegetable inside them. Let's roll for some roughage. 3 shredded lettuce and 6 cocktail onions. Shredded lettuce is a nice neutral addition to our sandwich.
I never heard of him play in my entire life, not
once. It will do flavor-wise, and I'm okay with that. We've got a lot of flavors going on already. Cocktail onions are small pearl onions pickled in brine that are used.
He wasn't throwing it out. He'd actually, I'd watch him. I'd watch him eat it.
The Gibson cocktail. Even once pickled, they retain a bit of their crunchiness and have a tart, vinegary, mild onion flavor. I think these will definitely be interesting with what we've got going on so far. All right, next up, let's hit it with a little wild magic. 2.
2 is feeling like a technique to me, less than not an ingredient.
Something that's going to ruin it no matter what.
Dainty bite. Number 2 is dainty bites.
That's not really anything, is it?
Okay, wait, let me, what if number 2 is you put it in a bag, seal it tight,
Okay.
dip it in the toilet.
Now,
And because here's what's it,
Cool.
this is just the idea.
That's badass.
Because you have eaten a sandwich that's been in the toilet. We took the precautions.
Yeah.
I don't want any
I don't want you
toilet
to
water
get
to
the top. The top sealed part doesn't even have to go in the water.
No.
That can remain above.
Like a poo vide.
Yeah, it just has to go in the toilet.
It has to go in the toilet.
Okay, I love that. Yeah.
The dice really woke up
You sick fucks.
and chose violence today, huh? Guess we're bagging this one up when we're done making it. All right, and last but not least is the D20 sauce roll. Here we go. 18, Kewpie mayo. Well, a little bit like putting lipstick on a pig at this point, huh? Honestly, taste-wise, I think this will be pretty good. Taste-wise. Let's go ahead and get our sandwich closed up here. Get our toothpicks in to hold it together. And let's go ahead and get our sandwich in our bag. Make sure it is nice and sealed up. Remember, always use protection. There we go. Ready for our deep sea voyage.
No way it says dive cam.
All right, and now that our sandwich has been through its unholy baptism, we can pick back up where we left off. Let's go ahead and get our sandwich cut in half. And let's take a look at that cross-section. Cross-section doesn't look too bad. Honestly, the ingredients on this
not double bagging that at least is unholy. Maybe I'm being a little too cautious, but I feel like I would have had like a paper plate off to the side, and I would have picked this up out of the bag and then put it on the paper plate and then clean this whole area. Because, like, what if it was dripping across? You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't know. Like, I know there's a bag there, and I know it's too much, but like mentally, I don't think I could do it.
Let's go ahead and get our sandwich cut in half. And let's take a look at that cross-section. Cross-section doesn't look too bad. Honestly, the ingredients on this one are pretty interesting to me. It did stay dry. That's good. Now it's just a question of whether the psychological
It's going
warfare
right back
is
in
going
the
to ruin
toilet
it.
anyways.
Let's
That's
give it a taste.
wild.
Yeah, you know, this is actually quite tasty. The flavors mesh really well together, and it's very interesting. As long as I just don't think about it too hard. Just don't think about where it's been. And that someday very soon, it will return. Yeah, olive loaf and spicy cheese sandwich. Not too bad. There are a lot of levels to the rating of this one. It's kind of hard to pin down. But I think ultimately I'm going to give it a 7. And I'm going to call it
No way the Poop Voyage sandwich gets a 7.
The Unholy Diver. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you.
Okay, dude.